Hey, don't miss out. In the right lower corner of the YouTube video, you're gonna see that small red mark. Click on it and select the 4K video quality. You are not going to regret it. Those details are important. The views are stunning. Enjoy! Here is a building under construction that I noticed in downtown Miami, one of the tallest residential towers currently under construction. It's a reinforced concrete structure filled with window walls. It has a very modern design, resembling a ship at sea, I would say, with double curvatures achieved by simple, modest means. You would see that all the glazing here is faceted as opposed to curved. There are several large decks like this one and hundreds of smaller terraces going along the perimeters of the individual floor slabs. So here you can see the ship's bridge extending from above, I believe, 55th floor and up. There are multiple material and labor hoists bringing material, tools and workers up and down and illustrating the major challenge that all high-rise towers experience, namely the vertical transportation. There is a depression in the deck suggesting there is a swimming pool intended here. Below the deck there is a technical floor with opaque walls built of concrete masonry units. The west wall at this level is tilted outwards, which comes with two benefits. It's better protected from elements and there is a better privacy in such a terraced configuration than otherwise. Below this level we can see a combination of fixed and sliding full-height glazing installed. This is the south elevation, which is going to receive a significant solar heat gain load. And the only exterior shading is provided by the protruding terrace slabs. The window wall is pretty consistent throughout. It consists of full-height fixed glazing, full-height sliding doors, and there are some openings consisting of fixed glazing and louvers. We can see the caulking joint already installed between the head receiver and the underside of the concrete slab above, the openings with the termination of the ducts protected with their own louvers. And we can also see the glazed balustrades protecting the perimeters of the terraces. What's cool here is that the glazing sits on a curb elevated above the level of the floor slab, and we will talk about it a little bit. Here we just effortlessly jumped on the north elevation. This is the very top, with the chillers being placed in the depression of the top deck, going 2 levels down, which would need to be addressed with 3 separate roofs. And we can see on the right side there are several concrete shafts which contain the vertical communication staircases, elevators, or both. One of them seems to be dedicated to that upper level. This is a nice feature. Not always designers of skyscrapers devote attention to the need for maintenance. Sometimes you actually need to carry a ladder to get there. So this is good. You can see, which is interesting, plenty of safety fencing in blue color, including the safety netting. So it's kind of a nice non-intimidating color as opposed to the typically used orange. There are multiple lifelines hanging from the edges of those top slabs. Here, roughly 1/3 of the span between two structural columns, we can see a piece of glazing, and we can take opportunity to have a look at it. We can use that incredible zoom. You can see a fairly reflective glass surface, which is bad news for birds and good news for the occupants of the building, because it generally indicates glass that comes with a lower solar heat gain coefficient, and therefore saving the cooling energy bills. We can see the concrete curb that apparently was poured on top of the finished floor slab with a dry joint on top of it and already a little crack developing across it. You can see the reflection of the drone itself hovering in the air. And here is the head, which we are going to focus a little bit closer because it's interesting. You can see that this is a fixed head, not a floating head. So all the movement needs to be accommodated by that gap between the top of the aluminum header and the bottom of the concrete slab. Let's focus on it once again. We can see a little bit of a shadow. You can remember from the south elevation that this joint is going to receive a sealant bead. Therefore, its movement capacity would be reduced further. For such a large structural span combined with the cantilever, one would expect at least 2 times bigger joint at this location in order to accommodate the anticipated differential movement between the concrete floor slabs. Here you can see some operable units. Those are outswinging tilted windows hinged at the top with the limiters. There is some frame sitting on sawhorses. And let's have a look at it again. Here closer to the structural column we can see that this gap is pretty consistent, so they did not vary it depending on the anticipated structural differential movement. Here again we can see the bottom curb. This detail is also interesting because it doesn't feature any flashing. There is no receiver, nothing that would suggest any weather resistant other than the typical sealant bead. There is no forward looking whip holes, which is also challenging because that would in a field easily be sealed over by a crew. Having a raised curb like that is a very nice feature to have in such a challenging climate. And here we can further confirm that this curb is separated from the top of the slab by a day joint or a dry joint. We can see a little bit of troweling there. So in order to waterproof the two, there should be a water stop installed before the curb was installed, which we obviously cannot verify at this stage. You may remember the base of the balustrade was installed low above the floor slab, and therefore indicating there is no plan on having a raised floor with pavers or anything like that. So those curbs or the saddles of the fenestration will be raised, significantly preventing access for any wheelchair-bound disabled individuals. We could earlier see the pre-glazed units ready for installation. Most of this window wall seems to be pre-glazed in the shop. Here we can see this distinct horizontal banding by concrete slab edges that anywhere else would create a cold bridging challenge. Here in Miami, Florida, it's mainly a maintenance issue because not only there is a double sealant joint that needs to be replaced every several years, which is expensive at this height, but also there is alkalic washout that would require frequent window washing in order to keep them nice and clean. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.